Oh, good evening, good morning everybody, good evening to Skip, and good evening to John Parra too if you're going to pop up when you pop up. So, good morning to everybody.
You need to settle, don't you?
I was off with the fairies. Listen, during the week we went away and we came back with some timber. So, for those of you who are looking for a little bit of box making timber, I've got a supply. It's only a small supply of these timbers here, so if you're looking for some timber, it's mostly 10 and 12 mil. I've got some coachwood, silky oak, cedar, cherry, New Guinea rosewood, maple and some walnut. So I've got a little bit of all of that. So if you're looking for some box making timber, by all means get in contact with us and we can sort that for you. So as you can see, the colours are quite nice. Once you put a bit of finish on them, they're going to look really, really nice. Oh, incidentally, though, we have some camphor laurel too that we haven't actually added. So a bit of timber there for you guys if you're up on in need of a bit of box making stuff for maybe your Christmas projects. So anyway, what we're going to do today, I'm going to do a really quick rundown on how to build the box frame. Now the box frame is a flat box frame, so it's going to look like that. So just a real quick one. Now the reason I'm building this one here is because the handle, we're making one with a handle in it. The handle is fitted into an edge that's cranked over, and that's quite difficult to actually do because it's not a straight through. It's a sliding dovetail, and what we need to do is actually cut it in a particular order so that we can actually fit that. Oh, we've got an ant there. What's he doing? Wasn't a board. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through just cutting that. The dovetails are on the side of this box. As you've noticed in our other boxes, I was putting the dovetails in the ends of the box. This one here is in the side of the box for a particularly good reason, and I'll show you that as we go through. So first thing is to cut your pieces of timber. So get yourself some timber. I've got my piece of timber already cut out, marked out. I've actually cut the sliding dovetail in one of the pieces. So that's the first task you do before you cut the angles on the ends of the piece of timber, and it's a whole lot easier to do it that way. When it's already got its angles on the end, it's quite difficult. So set yourself up. I've got my H dovetail bit. I've got it all set up so that I'm cutting in the middle. I've marked the middle and I'm just going to cut the middle. So I'm just going to race through and do that for you. First up. Now I've got a big flat platform as my push block. Normally I put a handle on there so I could use it to push, but I didn't have time this morning, so it's just a matter of getting it all sorted. Now everything's all set up, ready to go, so I'm just going to cut through there. Sandpaper. Now of course you do these both at the same time. And when you put them together, go that way, you can see I've got my markings done. Now when I've marked my face side mark, I've made sure the face side mark is pointing at the top of the box this time. There's a reason for that as well. We'll show you when it gets time to do it. But now you can see that my two dovetails actually line up. Okay, so you want that to happen. So they're going to be apart here, and I'm going to put a piece of material in the middle. The next step is to cut your 5 degrees on each end. Now the important thing to remember here is cut that before you cut your 5 degree. It's very difficult to do it afterwards. I've got my 5 degree stop there. Now do these together. So put them the way they're going to live when I put them in the box. cut your 5 degrees. Ears on. Remember, the face side mark is pointing at the top of the box for these particular trays, and I'm using the laser on my saw to touch the top point corner. There's my 5 degree. Now you don't have to do 5 degrees, you can do 10 degrees if you like. It will give you a similar sort of result. And so now I'm just going to very quickly cut some dovetails, just to show you how quick it is and how easy it once you're set up. So I'm going to do this. I've already cut the dovetails, sorry about that, 5 degrees on the long bits. Now I'm cutting my dovetails in the side of the panel. Right. Basically because I want the pins, on the end panels. Okay, so very important, you have your pins on your end panel. Just my height. So I'm cutting the dovetails on these with my height adjustment. Half millimetre. Once you do that a few times, you'll get used to adjusting just a little bit above the height of the jig template. Now I've already got this one set up too. I'm just going to do this very quickly. So face side mark out, the top of the box at the stop. Now I've got it lined up nice and neat on the end there, so that I've got 2 dovetails on this one. If you want a wider piece, by all means use a wider piece. Just readjust your distances and your setup. Won't take that much to do it. And ears on, and I will cut some dovetails. Ears on. Now when you do this, just reverse it, make sure it's right, set it up. For those of you who are curious, the timber I'm using for the sides is the rose mahogany. So that's how quick it takes to cut your dovetails. Cut the pins. My timber is exactly the same, so make sure that you've got accuracy here. 50mm here, 50mm there. And you don't have to move anything once you've got set up correct. Face side mark out, and the top of the box is pointing at the stop. Change my around a bit. If you're lucky enough to have two routers, set them up before you get going, and you can do multiple boxes at once. Don't forget to do your maintenance on your router bits as well. Make sure that you scrub all the residual sawdust out of the top of the router bit, a little bit of oil, and check the grub screw. Make sure you get the grub screw nice and tight before you actually start. Now this is the opposing piece of material, so we use that as our height adjuster, just in case you're using two different thicknesses. Now I'm going as quickly as I can because I want to get this done so I can show you how to build the handle. The handle will take a little bit of effort to get done. Okay. Now remember, you're cutting a dovetail or a pin on an angle like this. You may find that you'll get this little bit of it's not tear out, it's just the stuff that's just not quite cut off. So a little bit of furry stuff on there. If you've got your measurements incorrect, you probably get a thicker piece, which you might necessitate using a chisel just to clean off the little corner off the edge. It's because it's cranked over and the router bit's straight, and it's not actually doing the job properly there. You may also get one on the top edge. So just be a little bit careful of that when you're working with your measurements. And when you fit them into the jig, make sure you put it down nice and tight so it's flat on top of the template. So you've got it flat on top of there. Okay, ears on. So that's how quick it takes to make the frame. Now the next step, I'm going to bypass the next step because I've already done it on another job. If you want to see how I cut my bases, because that's the next step here. Actually no, this is not the next, the base is not the next step. You'll notice that what I've done here is I've cut my dovetails, and there is a step before we start looking at cutting a trench for the base. Now when you look at that, what you've got here is you've got a straight piece of timber this way, so it's straight down the sides, and the top is square to the two sides. When you sit it up like that, it's actually cranked up at an angle. Now if you like it like that, that's fine, but what I like to do is make it flat on here, so I've got a flat surface across here. You also need a flat surface on the bottom. So once you've cut your dovetails, and you need to do it after you cut your dovetails, is with the 5 degree chamfer bit that we've picked up from CARROLL'S, you need to set up and cut those angles. Bit squeaky. Now you need to do this before you cut. Finish for that, so I can put that aside. You need to do this before you cut the trench for the base. So you can see the order that I've done a few of these things is a little different to what I would have done if I was making a box, a square box. Okay, so if you're using two different thickness materials, check to see which one's the thickest and adjust to that thickness. Now I'm below the bearing. Reason being is I've got to use a fence to actually cut this. Okay, so I'll lock one in there. The other thing that I've done, you can probably see it better on this piece of timber. When you, on this one here, when this is sitting in the tray, it's going to be sitting, and this is very exaggerated, at an angle like that. So what we need to do is we need to take off this outside edge here and this inside edge here. So mark that edge there. That's one we want to cut, and I've already marked the outside one there. And this one here I have to do the same. So make sure you got it up the right way. That bit there and that bit there. Just put an arrow on it. Oh, incidentally, cute little picker pens by CARROLL'S Tool. Jimmy Carroll's got these if you wish to purchase one. Great little pen. Okay, I've marked this one already, so I know where I'm going to cut with those. Got my height adjusted. Fence. And I want the router bit so it's cutting square to the fence. Bring that across. And I'll just adjust the fence. Pammy's pushing me out of the way here so you can get a bit of a video. I'm just making that just so that it just comes by the edge. I'll lock this one in. So now it's just a matter of running along here. Looks good. So it is on. I need that edge and that edge. Now you can see we've now got a 5-degree angle on here and a 5-degree angle back that way. And so when you put it down, it tilts out like that, which is what it's supposed to do.
Oh, that's good.
It's actually going to sit there. So nicely done. So all I need to do is the rest of the bits. Arrow down, facing the fence. Got the arrow on the wrong side, but it doesn't matter. It's that way. Yep. Okay, now when we put it together this time, make sure you get that bit right, because if you get it wrong, you've got your angle the wrong way around. So now I have a flat base on here and I have a flat surface on the top. And it's at this stage where you will cut your trench for your base. Now I'm not going to do that because I've done that on pretty much every single box that I've made on the show. I've cut a trench to do that, so follow the same directions that you would if you just go back to a couple of our other shows. But I needed to show you how to get that done, because the reason being is that we've got the dovetails on the outside, where normally on the other by the trays there we've had the dovetails on the end of the box because we've fitted everything together. This time it's a little different because we've got something in the middle. And when we build the handle, which we're going to do now, I'll show you why we've had to do it that way. Now once you've got that sorted to that stage and you've got your base made and fitted, just getting myself set up here. Once you get your base made and fitted, you're going to end up with that. Okay, so what we need to do is you need to measure between the two dovetails. So take your ruler and sit it in the dovetail channel and measure to the other side. This one's 273 millimeters. Your piece of timber needs to be 273 millimeters. It has to be exact, right? So that's what I've done with this one. I've made my base and I've cut my piece of timber so that it fits perfectly in the dovetails there, right? Now, you're going to say, that's not going to fit because the bottom is splayed in. That's correct. It isn't going to fit because the bottom is splayed in. But my markings, I've got my centre mark done. My piece of timber is 75 millimeters. 75 millimeters will give me a bit of room here so that the handle is sitting a little above the whatever you've got in the tray, in a little content area of the tray. So it sits up a little higher. So that's only 25 millimeters above the side of the box. That's what my 25 millimeter mark is. So a centre mark and a 25 millimeter mark. Now, the next sets of steps, you need to do those in a particular order as well. So the first thing we have to do is we need to mark where our handle is going to go. And I'm going to cut that out first go, right? So I have my little template. My template's going to sit, and I've got the template. I don't know how you can see these, the markings on them. I've got a 25 millimeter mark through here, and I've got a centre mark there, and I've also got centre marks here, right? And so my 25 millimeter mark goes on the 25 millimeter line that you have on your part, and the centre line goes in the middle, and it just makes it that little bit easier to set up. Let me take pencil and draw out where our handle is going to be. Okay, so that's my handle in there. Incidentally, these things here, you can make them up fairly quickly. There's just a piece of plastic from the big green store or the big red store or wherever you might buy your plastic components, and then you just drill a couple of 19 millimeter holes, and then you can get whatever shape you like for your handle. I've just got this one here, and it's just a small piece, and I can use it on multiple trays. You'll see that I've made it on a couple of the other trays over there while you were wandering around. We'll be over there in a minute, but first, next thing to do is now, while the piece is a solid piece of timber, it's easier to hold on to it and easier to clamp it down. So I'm going to drill a couple of holes, and then I'm going to cut out the bits and pieces on the middle of that, and then we'll go from there. So I've got a 16 millimeter drill bit set up here. And let me go up a little bit. Now the space that I've got there is a 19 mil, but 16 mil drill gives me a little bit of wiggle room just in case I make a mistake. I could use a 19 mil, but it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, and I'm going to clamp that down. No, got to use two hands. Let's try that again. I'm not quite out to the edge of the line. If you're confident enough with your gear, you can do that. But for those of you who struggle a little bit with setup, by all means, just do it this way. Not that. Drill a hole all the way through. I'm not concerned if it doesn't go, if it's not right in the middle of the piece of timber, but it is inside the lines, and that's all we need to worry about. So now I have my two little holes, so what I need to do now is cut out the excess. So I'm going to go this way and Pam's going to go that way, over to the vise. And just with a all I'm trying to do there is get rid of the bulk. So now it's over to the back to the router. And now with my template I've got some double-sided tape on here. The hard bit's getting the corner of that up. Place it back where it was when you lined it up. So make sure your lines are all sorted so that you're in the right spot. So be very careful about that. The reason I'm putting this back on here is because I'm going to just trim out the inside of that hole. Now, I'm just going to use the flush cut bit. Adjust my height. Adjust the height so the bearing is running on the plastic and the piece of timber is being trimmed up by the cutter, but we don't want to trim up we don't want to trim up the template. So I think I've got it pretty much right. Just got to check that and make sure it's exactly right. Now you need to be very careful when you use this router bit because there is a tendency for it to catch. So just get myself a bit of drink here. So ears on everybody. Okay, so we've trimmed that out now. It's just a matter of taking it off there. It's a bit tight. Just go slowly. It doesn't have to come off straight away, but it will come off. A bit. And there we have our little handle. Just want to trim this off, take this off here while I've got the opportunity, because it won't be that easy later. So get it off as soon as you can. Okay, now our next step is to fit it in here, right? So what we need to do now is we need to cut a 5-degree angle from the bottom to this corner here, and then we need to cut the dovetail on here to fit into that trench there. So over to our table saw, our drop saw. So when we line this up, make sure the top of the box is up against our fence. Make sure this is nice and square before you start. Now remember, this is exactly the right length, so you don't want to take too much off your length. Just make sure that when you cut, I've got my laser right there on the point of that line. So it's right there. So the edge of the laser is there, and that'll cut that piece off. Now to do the other side, what I have to do is I have to put a mark on here. So if I get my 25, measure my 25mm down from the top. That's my 25mm. It's in the right place. Set it up exactly the same way I had it before. So now I have my handle with a 5-degree angle on each end. That will match up to the 5 degrees in here. What I need to do now is I need to cut a dovetail on each end of that so it will fit into the slide. So we're back to our H cutter. You can see there's lots of processes in this handle and the order is really critical. You really do need to follow the order, otherwise you're going to end up having to go backwards to try and get something to fit, or recut another one. Okay, so how high do I want it? Well, let's pull this apart. And the easiest way to set it is to put the dovetail on top of there and then just lower things down. Just sit that on there until things flat on the table. Whoop, too far. Come up a little bit. The micro adjuster on these Triton routers is just brilliant for this sort of thing. I'm doing a tiny little bit at a time. As soon as I feel it scraping in the bottom of the trench, too much again. Take down.
So, Cole, you're part way through writing the comprehensive instructions for the tray, aren't you? The caddy.
Yes.
How to do the handle. Yeah. So, well, it's, yeah, Viv was asking about it, but it was something that we were going to mention anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That the basic guidelines and then the instructions for the caddy will, once we've written them, we'll actually put them up onto our website in the information folder. But they also will come as part of the package when you buy the sloping stops package.
Okay, let's get all this stuff out of the way. Now what I want to do here is I've got to cut a dovetail on both sides of this. So I'm going to need a fence. So I'm back with my trusty fence. Now this is the thing. I didn't cut myself. This is where a mistake has been made. I didn't cut myself a piece of material this thick to use as a template or to use as a tester. So I've got to do it without doing the tester. But I would suggest that if you're doing this, make sure you do cut yourself a piece of test material. I've got a little thin piece here that's probably, well, this is the same thickness, so I could probably use this, but actually it won't cut across the top. I'll have to cut along the piece, so I'm going to have to use a little bit of jiggery pokery here.
I knew you'd say that. You have to find a different word for Sunday.
Right. Just have to use that. Try a couple of test bits. Here's on. I'm just going to give it a quick run. Okay, I'm not cutting enough out, so that means I've got to slide my fence back a little bit. Ooh, too much. Let's try again.
Still tight, isn't it?
So you can see in the end of here I've got a little dovetail.
But not enough on the other side.
There's not enough on one side. So let's have another little cut here.
Beautiful.
So you can see that's going to work.
Just put it back in there again. So
So you can see it just fits in there just nicely. Actually, I think it might be a bit too much.
Do you think it might be a bit loose?
Yeah, a bit loose. So I have to bring that back the tiniest little bit. That should work.
Because the handle component actually needs to be a firm fit.
That's correct.
Into the dovetail slot, doesn't it?
Yep. Now I've made a little push block for this as well. So my little push block will actually hold it up against the fence while I'm cutting. And I'll just slide that along. I've just got to make sure I'm not tilting it over.
So just pull that out so we can see. It's a very basic.
It's an offcut of a used backing board. So all I've done is just cut a little step on it, and it actually becomes a push block, and I can slide that along quite nicely. So here's on. Oh, got it perfect. Spot on. Do the other end. Here's on. Now this is the reason why we do the dovetails on the end, and you need to make sure that's the perfect size, because this one's a little tight. I don't want to get it too tight that I can't get it out. I might just run it over the saw, I'll just run it over this again. Still a little tight. Just need to take the tiniest little bit more off it.
Yep.
And I'll just take it off one side.
much better.
It's got it. I think this one fitted really nicely. Okay, so this is the reason why we had to do dovetails on the side. So when we turn that on its end, you can see that the pins are up. So what we'll need to do is then make sure we've got the right one in the right place. We need to fit the sides on the outside of it.
Doesn't look right. Take it off.
Okay, so that'll squeeze up as soon as I've got it. No, you idiot.
Doesn't look right.
It's
the wrong thing.
He's the clown. Oh dear. I don't know why it doesn't fit. Got this piece upside down. Well, it just goes to show it fitted together. So even upside down, it fitted nicely. Let's try again. Now it works. So there's our handle.
And so what's the rationale for the...
So if you put the dovetails in the end, you can't fit the sides onto the end panels and have the handle in place. You cannot get that handle to work properly if you don't put it in first. When you put it in there, what we're doing, the force that's applied to this now is a vertical force. And when you have an angle like that and something else fitted there and it's dovetailed, you cannot pull it straight up. You have to push it along the angle to get it out. So while it's sitting in like this, you've got vertical force, which is when you lift the tray, it locks the dovetail together and stays that way. Even though you're going to have glue in there as well, it's a safety thing. So you're not going to put a whole lot of heavy things in there anyway, but generally that's the way it works. So if you put your dovetails in the end, as I've done with this one here, I can't actually put the handle in and then put the sides on because this is already holding it in situ. So I can't actually fit these onto something that I've already got the handle in. So I'm going to have to sort of figure out something.
I see.
So it's that order. The next step now is to cut the shape around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull it apart, and as you can see I can't pull it apart while it's got the sides on it. My sides, get these off. I'll put them on the right way next time. So now what we need to do is we need to shape the handle. And to do that, I have built this cute little jig. You saw me use it before. 5-degree angle in here, lock it in place, and the shape I'm going to cut out is what's in here. Right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my shape on my piece of timber. And then over to the bandsaw and just take off the bulk. So I've only got it on one side, so I'll cut this bit out, I'll turn it over, and then I'll cut that bit out. So bandsaw. I'm not going to take all of it out. Back to my bench. Now I thought about cutting the width before I actually cut these bits off, but it doesn't quite work well enough to be able to cut the width of the board. I've got to take a bit off the bottom of it so that we can fit the bottom of the tray through it. Now I'm using the A10 straight cutter, so a trim router will be fine, but A10 cutter will do the job. Put that onto there, adjust the height so that I'm cutting my timber and not the jig. That's about right. Ears on. Now a little bit at a time. Don't try and take the whole lot in one go. That little jig is the same jig that I used to do the other handles, but now I have, and I'll put it in the right way this time. So now I have my handle, and I'll just sit that there for the moment because I've got to take it off anyway. So the handle will go there. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to round over the inside edge of the handles, and then I need to trim off the bottom of here. So it needs to be cut off there, right at the top of my trench, so that I can slide my tray through. But don't throw that bit away because we're going to use that as well. So that will go there and there. Just mark that proper. Mark this proper. I can take this off. Take this off. This one's a little bit tight. Roll up. Okay, so I have to cut that bit off the bottom. And the reason I make it 50mm from here to here is it so the angle is correct. when we put the whole thing together. If you try and make the thing this size and then put your angle on there, it's not going to fit in that because the angle won't be correct. So now it's just a matter of rounding over some bits. And round over these before you actually put it together because it makes it easier for later. I want the 204 on the inside. Sorry, the 502. I got that wrong before. 502 and 504. The 502 is for the inside.
That's right. That the one that takes
they're
off.
both inside. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
They're both inside. So
Yeah. You're relating it to the ones with
I was
two
relating
handles.
it to my double handle job.
Yeah.
Reason being is I don't want to take too much out of there because you do want to keep support in there. So I've got the 204 for this one. I'll set the height. Just take a small amount out. Now I know, I remember what I had to do. So that makes the inside of the curve nice and smooth now. So it's nice on your fingers when you lift it up. Use the 504, the 504 on the outside edge. I need to take a little bit of sandpaper to that before I actually do that. So there's a little edge on there. A little flat spot on the top. Just have to round that over. Now what I want to do here is I'm only going to go from the centre to centre with the round over because I want the top of that to be flat. So that needs to be flat so that the dovetail actually shows a flat surface. So we change this over to the, you could use the 204, the 502. God, I got my numbers mixed up. And you could use the 504. 502, 504. Set height. Somebody wants some instructions?
Yeah, just a review of the basic guidelines, but the other whiteboard has partial instructions, detailed instructions for this part of the process, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll get it out in a second.
Yeah, so we'll show them what you've gotten up to. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so now it's just a matter of doing the top outside edge. You can see now there's a tiny little curve here. You can see it's there, it's just a point. And so it's just a matter of a nice little sand there. And I've got the rounded over top. And there's my handle. Now, what I need to do is I need to cut this piece off. Now, there's lots of ways to do that. I'm going to do it on the drop saw. And I'm going to use my laser light as my guide. As you can see, the handle is significantly more difficult than on this one than it is on now. If you don't have a laser on your saw, you're going to have to figure out how to do this because we've rounded over the top of the handle. So I'm just setting my laser on the line. I'll lock this in place. I have to be very, very careful and very steady and hold this so that it doesn't move or go anywhere during the cut. Okay, so there's my handle. This is the bit that's left over. Now, the thing about this bit that's left over, it has the 5-degree taper on it. It also has the dovetail on it, and we need to make sure that you keep that piece for the moment. And when we put this together, this is what it's going to look like. So, set these up. And you can see that that now is set above the trench. A little bit high here, that's okay, we'll take that off. Same on this side. A little bit above the trench. Now my cross is here, so there's the two parts that go together. So it's that one. So we put that in there. Now this is why we have this in this order, because now we can put our base in. What I'm going to do is, I'll pull this apart again. I'm going to put the base in.
Oh, okay.
One of these was easy to get on and off. The other one wasn't so easy. That's fine. Getting the base on this is I just can't remember how I did it. I think it's this way. Let's lock the base in. Remember I was talking to you about order?
Yes.
Order and accuracy.
Voila.
So now we have our little tray. And because it's all locked together with the dovetails here, dovetails in the end, and they show up beautifully on the top, particularly with the light timber on the dark. And we've got the dovetails on the end, everything is locked in nicely, nice and tight. And all we have to deal with now is that little piece there. And that's where this bit comes in. So that's got to fit in to there.
Nice little cover up.
And might just take a little bit of pressure. There we have it. And what we'll do is we'll trim that down to the same height as, well, this will be here. I'll just shape that a little bit. I'll shape this a little bit and I'll make sure that that bit there is at the same height as that. So then we have that. So there's our little tray.
So let's have a look at the...
It's 11:15 now, so that's the best I can do with that anyway. So we've got that. I'll make another one later. Now, some of the orders this is where I'm up to with writing up the instructions of that particular tray with the handle on it. So I'll finish them off and we'll go from there. They're a little bit more detailed and the order is a little different to the ones beforehand. So you need to sort of, you know, follow the instructions, but they're not instructions on how to do things. They're actually a set of a process. So each one of these is a process, and it doesn't give a full detailed description of the process of how you go about it. You need to work that one out when you're doing your box making. It's just the process is this order, and keeping it in the order will help you. So basically, a little tray, that's what we're going to end up having made. So these little trays, they're a quite nice little tray. You can use them for your barbecue, you can use them in the kitchen as utility holders. You can use them for all sorts of things, even in the office as a pen and pencil thing, or something in the kids' playground with the pen and pencils. So that's it for today. And
that's it for this series?
That's the whole series done now. The one that we've got here, I've actually put a coat of finish on. This one's exactly the same tray.
Just turn it over so we can have a look at that.
You can see that the bottom of this one here, I haven't put feet on it, but that little flat piece that goes in the middle of it just adds to the quality of the piece as well. So when you look at it, it's actually had some effort put into making it look nice. This one's got rounded over edges. On this one here, I've got feet, so a little bit different, but it'll still come up looking exactly the same. A couple of coats of finish and you'll end up with something that looks pretty similar to this. So that's our little tray. Now before I go, the series ended up like this. We ended up with a number of different trays. The flat tray, this type of handle. Now this handle here is the reverse of this one, so that's another idea of what to do with the tray. So I've just with one tool, one template, I've actually managed to be able to make a number of different types of trays, and without the handle it just becomes a little flat tray that you can use somewhere. And you'll notice on my bench I've actually got one there that I put all my tools in now. And we've got them in 5, 10 and 15 degrees. So if you wish to purchase one, by all means jump online. Actually, if you're not online yet, call me. Call me and talk to me. Give me a phone number, and when I ring, answer it. so I can help you out with all the bits and pieces that you need. So we're going to take a couple of breaks off. We've got some family stuff to deal with, so we'll be away for a 2 or 3 weeks. We're not quite sure. And I'll come back. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing when I come back, but we will come back.
We will do a short series between now and Christmas Eve. Yeah.
So have a good week, everybody, and thank you also for your support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, very much.
Some thumbs ups would be great. If you haven't subscribed already now, please subscribe. and we will see you all
in a couple of
in
weeks.
a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So have a good
Thanks,
week.
everybody.
Have a time, everybody.